Our story erupts into chaos with a gang of ominous figures converging before a mysterious door, but the moment their leader wrenches it open, they are paralyzed by absolute horror because the room is drenched in blood, scattered with human remains like gouged out eyes and severed limbs. And in the center, a strange magical circle surrounded by ghostly figures performing an eerie ritual, leaving them standing frozen in incomprehension. And yet at that same moment, the narrative shifts toward our protagonist, who is trapped inside a terrifying nightmare, sensing a massive disaster approaching, and he jolts awake in panic, sitting up while clutching his head and trying to steady his breathing, then reaching for a glass of water beside him, only to notice strange drawings nearby that match exactly the symbols from his nightmare, because he himself had drawn them just moments ago in that dream. And while he stares at his phone in confusion, trying to process what he is looking at, a violent wind suddenly bursts through the room, blowing the drawings into the air, forcing him to stand up in shock because the window was supposed to be tightly shut. And driven by confusion, he moves down the stairs of his house, only to arrive at a place that mirrors the ritual site, with blood splattered everywhere and corpses on the floor missing their organs. The villains are startled by the young man standing before them, and their eyes lock onto him, causing our protagonist to feel immediate dread and understand that he is now in mortal danger. So he immediately begins running from the location, bursting into his apartment and slamming the door shut behind him, and he is gripped by terror while ordering the villains to stay away from him or else he will alert the authorities. So he immediately attempts to call the police, but the line opens with no one responding to his desperate pleas, and suddenly he notices multiple hands gripping his window at the exact same moment he realizes someone is blocking his call. So these hands could shatter his window, and then a terrifying creature appears and begins attacking him with furious violence.
Lovers, updates. It Is My New channel is dedicated to delivering clear, engaging manhwa recaps for fans worldwide. Subscribe for regular updates and join our growing community of manhwa lovers.
Causing our protagonist to feel shocked and scream in absolute fear, and he immediately grabs a chair and strikes the spider-like monster with it while demanding it leave. But the creature strikes the chair back and demands that he stop resisting because his resistance is completely futile. So our protagonist becomes more terrified and begins running. But the monster refuses to release him and chases him while declaring that he cannot possibly escape no matter what he does. So he dashes through an iron door and immediately locks it behind him, and the monster crashes against the door repeatedly with tremendous force while demanding he come out. But our protagonist looks around carefully and realizes he is now trapped in a room with no openings except for one single door, which means he cannot escape because the monster will surely kill him. But suddenly, he hears someone speaking to him asking if he wants to live right now. So our protagonist becomes confused and asks who is speaking to him, and then a strange woman suddenly appears in the space surrounded by smoke like a phantom, introducing herself as his mysterious system, leaving our protagonist confused as he asks whether she is some kind of evil ruler or what. But the woman responds and tells him her identity is not important to him right now, and she explains that she is currently providing a beginner's reward, and at that moment she gives him a treasure box. So our protagonist is shocked by the box, and the box immediately opens and the lady tells him that 5 basic random elements from multiple worlds will now emerge for him, and these elements will come to him because he managed to create your first monster. So our protagonist stands nervously, not knowing what to do, and the lady tells him that your fusion of these elements will determine your monster's power and how it will function, and she also tells him that he will gain an additional skill, and she tells him, "You look very much like a genius." So our protagonist is still confused about what is happening and tells the lady, "You are really praising me a lot," and suddenly at that very moment the door continues to be battered and is close to being destroyed. So our protagonist remembers and says, "I forgot about the monster that is chasing me," and then he wonders if he can actually merge the elements that are in front of him, and the lady encourages him and assures him that he can do it, but she warns him that he must merge these elements properly and gives him an example that you cannot put strawberry juice on coffee and must choose elements that match each other. So our protagonist feels the pressure somewhat and does not know what exactly he is supposed to do, but he has no other choice, so he moves the elements, and here a magical circle forms from which intense light erupts. So the young man begins reciting the spell that he is supposed to say, and its contents state that the monster that will emerge will be his loyal servant. And suddenly, after he recites the spell, a green light emerges, and here a very evil balloon forms and looks at our protagonist while being shocked at him. So our protagonist becomes upset and says he did not want a monster shaped like a balloon like that, but the lady tells him this monster is good and will help him. And here the door that was being battered finally breaks and the spider enters and informs our protagonist that he can no longer escape from it. So our protagonist becomes enraged and yells and curses at the spider, and here the balloon next to him flies and tries to attack the spider, and the lady speaks to our protagonist and tells him, "By the way, you are amazing and your monster has a high rank, and because of that you will be able to choose any skill." So our protagonist does not think much and tells her, "I need the void suction skill and hell's scream," and indeed that sound emerges, and at that moment the servant is also screaming in pain and spinning and running away saying, I cannot possibly die right now, does not allow him to escape, so she goes forward to attack a second time, and the red circle hits the servant again. So the servant screams for the second time and strikes the monster hard in the face, so the monster falls and asks what happened to it. So our protagonist is amazed by himself at that moment and says, "My power looks truly amazing." And at the exact same moment, the monster says about our protagonist that he has revealed himself as awakened. So our protagonist looks at the lady and asks if he is truly one of the awakened, or what. The monster does not wait long and runs toward our protagonist with speed and tells him that having an awakened person in our world disrupts our plans and we must kill you. But here the balloon flies right in front of the monster and makes a terrifying sound. So the monster is shocked by that and asks, "What is that in front of me?" So the balloon wraps its cord around the monster's neck, and here our protagonist thanks the balloon for what it did and tells it to keep the monster restrained like that. And then our protagonist spins the sound he has with him in the air and sets it on fire. And with great speed, he jumps and crashes down with all his power with that sound on the monster and splits him in half. So the monster screams loudly and immediately dies. And right away, our protagonist receives a message that he managed to kill the monster. So our protagonist becomes very happy about that and says that finally the problem is solved. And the balloon here spins around our protagonist because she is happy. But during this time, the situation does not end because our protagonist is shocked by very loud screaming and someone calling for help from the monsters. So our protagonist moves quickly to the window and looks ahead and finds a huge and terrifying number of monsters everywhere, literally. And these monsters are spider-shaped, and we see a man trapped at a window begging the monster to let him go because he has children, and there are others hiding in fear. And there are also large numbers trapped like insects tied to his window. So our protagonist, whose name is Lo, is very surprised by the chaos happening because the authorities are supposed to appear and deal with the situation. But he remembers that someone was actually blocking his call, and it seems the authorities do not know anything about the chaos happening here. So he decides not to wait, and that he must kill these monsters quickly, or else all the city inhabitants will die as sacrifices to summon an evil ruler. And this ruler, if he descends, could destroy the entire world at that moment. So Lo's balloon grabs a wheel and pulls it with force and drops it. And here Lo notices that the balloon has become a 2-star monster and decides to name her Kai, and tells her that she is amazing and can kill the monsters. But with her explosion power, Kai begins to spin in circles because of her happiness. And then she focuses and transforms a very powerful dark energy in a circular shape. And this energy grows more and more. And we see that it wraps around the building where Lo is, and the one next to it as well. And at that moment, explosions occur in them, and time passes with us. And the spiders remain everywhere. And at the exact same moment, we see that forces are arriving and they are surrounded. But they attack the spiders with the guns they have and with their maximum firepower. And suddenly, at that moment, a strange attack occurs that creates an explosion in the middle of the forces. So they all turn and scatter toward the commander. And at that moment, we see that a giant spider appears and is different from the rest, and tells them that he is the sorcerer, servant of the ruler. So the commander yells and gives orders to his followers to attack from afar, and only the 4th rank awakened can get close. So they actually attack with different elements and hit this monster with their strongest attacks. But the monster does not care and continues to laugh. So the commander is very surprised and is shocked because the monster has not even taken damage from their attacks. And then the followers tell the commander that we can never defeat this monster no matter what we do. And they ask where the general is because he is the one who will save them. So the commander remains determined and asks them to attack continuously, no matter what happens, because this city must not fall. So the forces listen to the order and actually attack with guns or their skills. But the huge monster is not affected at all and tells these humans that they are all pitiful to him. And he goes forward to attack. But before he does that, Lo's voice is launched at the monster and tells him, "You have crossed the line with me." So the monster retreats from that voice and stops his attack instead of being hit. And then he looks at who did that and finds Lo standing on top of a building roof. So he speaks to him and asks about his identity. But our protagonist does not respond to him and remains standing with complete confidence in his place with the balloon key, and likewise with Hell's scream. And our protagonist, Lo, is wearing his mask and tells the monster that "You are not qualified to know who I am anyway," and asks him to come to him and fight him. So the monster responds to him and tells him, "How do you dare treat the servant of the ruler with such arrogance?" So Lo continues to provoke the monster and tells him, "You are just an insect with no use to me." So the monster becomes enraged and yells loudly and orders all the small spiders to kill Lo. And right away in that moment, the spiders launch at the building toward Lo. And because of their large numbers, they cover most of the building. So the commander becomes worried at that moment and asks him to escape quickly. But Lo does not listen to the order and asks Ki to use the void suction skill Lo immediately. And right away, the red circle forms around Qi. And suddenly, the size of the circle increases and waves are launched behind it that are able to hit all the spiders on the building in that way and kill them, sending them flying, and even hitting the ruler's servant. So the commander is amazed by what happened and says this is considered a star monster's power, saying no, or that he cannot possibly die at all. But this attack is very powerful and makes him explode. So the commander cannot believe the extent of Lo's power and tells those with him that since this boy helped us, he is definitely not evil and is on our side. So quickly he yells at him and asks him to just tell him his name. So Lo sits and thinks with himself for a moment and says, I might tell them my name and then they will give me a lot of money and honor me. But he remains afraid because right now with this terrible power, despite the fact that he is still not truly awakened and that this might make them do many experiments on him. And then he responds to the commander and tells him, I have no name and do not want to have any name even, and introduces them to the fact that he is a forgotten person and walks away from the location. So the commander sits thinking and feels that Lo might be a legendary person from ancient times or something that has returned to life again, and suddenly someone comes to the location and asks if things have become better or not. And at that moment, everyone is shocked and says that the one who came is General Li, who is surprised and says that as soon as the signal reached me, I came right away, and wonders if the spiders escaped or if they were able to eliminate them. So the commander responds and tells him, do not worry, the spiders have been completely eliminated, but we did not kill them. So the general looks around and sees spider corpses everywhere, and then he understands what happened. So he thinks about a statement he made when he told everyone that he is a forgotten person with respect to them. So the commander focuses with Li and is worried about his thinking and asks him if there is any problem. So Li responds and tells him that the power and way the speech of this person is evidence that he is a being whose presence is forbidden here, and most likely he is more powerful than evil rulers. So the commander, when he hears that, becomes shocked of course and asks if there is anyone more powerful than evil rulers, because that is impossible. So we return once more to Lo, who is walking with Qi and tells her that today's day was very strange, and from half an hour ago he was an ordinary person, but now he has become someone completely different. And then Lo is shocked and says, I forgot about the evil ritual and I must do something right now instead of summoning the evil ruler to the city. So Lo remains aware that many sacrifices were offered a while ago, and he says that this might mean the summoning of the ruler is still working normally. So he moves and returns to the building where he saw these villains and walks through corridors filled with blood until he says, I have finally found the place. So he opens the location and enters and finds severely mutilated corpses and remains in front of him. And in the center, a magical circle, and in its center something strange, almost a spider egg. So he focuses more and sees the corpses of the villains everywhere, and he says, I almost must have eliminated them early on. And then he releases his sound and strikes these corpses with it and sets the room on fire so the corpses disappear. So he gets closer at that moment and sees black balls here. So he tells these balls that they are special and can even make protective bracelets from them. And here he takes the balls because their quality is very high, and he will definitely sell them at an expensive price. And then he speaks about the egg that is there and tells her that she is very strange and even has a smell coming from her. And he feels her as a statue made from rare material. And suddenly Lo speaks to the system and asks if he can use extraction on this statue. So the system responds and tells him yes, it is normal. So he actually uses the extraction on it. So the statue breaks and a strong golden light comes out of it. And at that moment Lo is happy and says, this extraction succeeded. But at the same time he feels that something is wrong and the space around him is being destroyed. And then he looks and sees the cracks that are there. So he becomes very worried. And suddenly the entire space breaks like glass and falls to the ground, and he screams. And after that he finds himself having fallen on a giant spider web. So he feels pain at that moment and looks next to him and sees this web clearly. And he tells himself that this room is connected to a second space after all. And suddenly a red light comes to him. So he looks at this light and finds a skull in front of him. And we discover that this skull belongs to the leader himself, who is standing in front of our protagonist and wants to attack him. So our protagonist feels that something is wrong, and suddenly he feels a lot of noise in his head to the point that he feels his brain will explode right now. So he grabs his head tightly and his body begins to show strange bubbles, and then spider limbs come out from his back as if he is finally transforming. But during this time a giant scissors appears and cuts off the limbs, and the transformation stops immediately, and he feels relief when this happens because of the system. And the lady of the system appears in the location, holding a copy of the giant scissors, and tells Lo that a halo of the evil ruler has been discovered, and because of that the protection system has been activated automatically. And here Lo sits in his place very surprised from the fact that the system intervened in something like that. So the lady moves the scissors afterward and tells him that in front of him right now there are 10 seconds and he will exit the illusory world that he entered. So he looks at her and notices the extent of the system's power, that one movement alone from the lady was able to cut off the connection between him and the evil ruler. So he smiles and is happy and tells her that now there is nothing that will make me face the future with fear. So he moves afterward and extends his hand, and he tells her, since I came here I cannot leave without any benefit. And at that moment a strange point appears on the ruler's head, and then a portal appears in space. And Lo puts his hand in this portal and says goodbye to the ruler himself, and he is expelled right away from the ruler's illusory space. And immediately he returns to the room he was in from the beginning. And Ki is happy because he is still alive and nothing happened to him. So our protagonist is very relieved because he has succeeded now and returned to his apartment as well, and obtained an additional element. So the lady congratulates him on successfully confronting an evil ruler and tells him that his power has increased, but he is still in the first level. And then Lo finds a message in front of him, and this message tells him that you obtained a piece of the land of dreams made by the servants of the evil ruler, and the message tells him that he can use this piece once to confront the evil ruler. During this time, he remembers the word of power that was said to him, so he asks the lady about it. So the lady responds and tells him that power increases every time, and it will make you take a random box, and the box might have an expensive element, or it might be completely empty. So Lo is surprised that the box might be empty like that, and he asks the lady about the element that looks like a spider web, and we understand that it is the ruler's unbreakable web, and also contains the power of the ruler himself. So Lo is shocked by that and tells her that the web is considered a 5-star rank, and certainly, if he obtained any other elements from the ruler, it will also be of a higher rank. And then he tells himself, I think that if I collected resources like this, then I will be able to create a legendary monster. And at that moment, he laughs hard and tells himself that he might also become as powerful as a ruler in the future. And suddenly, at that time, the knock interrupts his thinking. So he becomes confused and asks, who is coming right now? And the one at the door responds and tells him that she is from the protection forces. So Lo asks Ki to hide quickly so that nothing happens. And after that, he goes and opens the door, and a girl enters and welcomes our protagonist and tells him that her name is Ning, and asks him if he saw any monsters attacking the building here. So Lo notices at that moment that Ning is holding a gun and is ready to shoot at any moment. So he quickly speaks to her and tells her, yes, I heard a lot of knocking and acted like I was not there. So Ning feels that there is no sign of evil power in the place. So she asks him to let her examine the place a little bit. So Lo tells her, go ahead, it is normal. And he tells her that the place is damaged because a spider entered, but the forces came and killed it right away. So Ning responds to him and tells him, by the way, you are very lucky because all the people who had spiders enter on them were killed and died. And then Ning speaks to someone and reports that there is a survivor in this area. So someone responds and thanks her for the work. And at that time, she looks at Lo Yu and she begins to complain about the president she has because she does not like him. But Lo interrupts her and tells her, do not continue your speech because the line is still on and he is hearing you. And indeed, the president here yells at Ning and tells her come quickly right now to the office. So Ning cries from that and runs right away. So Lo is very confused by this situation. And after that, he enters and closes the door, and he tells himself, I have finally finished with Ning, and now I am relieved. So our protagonist feels here that he has forgotten something important. And at the same time, we go to a girl who is on the street, and the girl sees Lo's eye drawing on the ground, and at that moment, she decides to take it. And time passes with us after that, and the firefighters begin to deal with the fire that is there. And at that moment, the news is on, and they are talking about the victims and injuries that occurred. And at that moment, our protagonist Lo is sleeping and very annoyed by the noise of the news. So Kai comes and gets close to his face, and that is what makes him annoyed. So he hits him and asks him to leave. So Ki leaves indeed. And after that, our protagonist gets up and looks behind him at the damaged wall and tells himself, I need to fix this wall right now. And at the same time, the girl who took the picture is still standing on the street. And after that, our protagonist descends and goes to look for a repair shop because he wants to fix the wall. But suddenly the girl calls him and speaks to him. So Lo welcomes her, and we understand that the girl's name is Cheng. And he speaks to her and tells her, I am a person whose house is destroyed and I want to fix it. So Cheng reassures him and asks him if his health is fine and offers him that they have breakfast together. So Lo tells her that he is fine normally and agrees. So they both eat together, and Lo keeps noticing the extent of happiness in Tang. So he is confused by the idea that Tang always pushes him away in a strange way, even though he is isolated and alone. But she is actually very beautiful and everyone was around her. And in school, Lo was always the one in the last row, and he is known for being the orphan who loves to draw and does not show his drawings to anyone. So he tells himself, I should not think about the past, but suddenly he feels something. So he stands up and looks at his right and left in amazement. So Tang is amazed and asks him what is happening. But Lo does not respond to her and sits down to think. And suddenly he runs from his place and tells Tang that something important needs to be done first. So Tang looks at him and says goodbye. And after that, she walks away from the location and she is opening the picture and keeps thinking. And she asks, and she Herself, I just want to call him again. And she asks herself if she is treating him badly because of that, so he left her now and decided to walk. And after that, Tang enters her apartment, and she is very embarrassed and tells herself, I am sure that Lo will not discover my secret. And here she turns on the light she has. So many frames appear for Lo, and Tang is obsessed with collecting them in the apartment. And also she has made a desk in it with all her belongings that she took from Lo. And the entire apartment literally has pictures of Lo and Lo's elements. Even after that, Tang takes a blanket from her shelf and puts it on her face, and immediately sleeps on the bed and keeps thinking about Lo in a strange way. And on the other side, our protagonist begins to feel a tremor. So he sits and looks around carefully and wonders if the weather is cold right now or what. And these events end with that, and Lo returns from the beginning to the house and tells himself that finally someone will come soon to fix the broken wall I have. So at that moment, Kai keeps playing. So Lo asks him to calm down a little bit, and after that he opens the system and sees the elements that he has collected. And from these elements he finds that there is a spider egg that is transformed because it is saturated with the power of the ruler. So Lo is confused about the existence of the egg with him and asks, where did it come from? But after that he remembers the spiders that were there, and he remembers that he killed females from them, and he tells himself that the shape of this egg is disgusting. So he takes out the egg here and he feels that it is alive. So he calls the system, and at that time the lady appears and she asks him, what do you need from me? So Lo speaks to her and asks her about this egg. Is it considered an element or not, because it is a living creature? So the lady responds to him and tells him as long as it is still an egg like it is and has not hatched, then it is considered a regular element. But if it hatches, then it is no longer an element. So Lo decides not to keep the egg with him too much. And at that time, Ki speaks and says something. So Lo is happy from his speech and tells him you are very smart and asks the lady if he can really use the egg to strengthen. So the lady responds and tells him it works. But unfortunately, right now your power does not allow you to do that. So Lo decides to use his fusion ability right away. And at that moment, a powerful halo appears. And Lo merges the egg with the fusion watch. And the beginning does happen indeed. But suddenly something strange happens to the egg and the two elements fall. And Lo says it is clear that this merge has failed and asks what exactly happened. And she looks at the watch and tells him that this watch is charged with the power of another evil ruler. And these rulers hate each other, so they are not willing to unite. So Lo is amazed that the rulers themselves even have conflicts among them. And after that, the lady gives Lo the watch and tells him when your level develops a little bit, then you will be able to merge even elements that contain the power of rulers that hate each other. So Lo changes the subject and pulls out another element in place of the egg and tells himself, I will merge these two elements with each other right now and see what will happen. And indeed, the two merge. And when they merge, Lo receives a message that the merge has succeeded now. And now a void spider egg with a 4-star rank has been formed. So Lo keeps looking at the features of this egg. So he is very amazed by it and tells himself that this egg will bring out a very strong and terrifying monster. So the lady gets more excited and tells him, by the way, maybe because of the hatching of this monster, you can choose 2 skills for yourself. So Lo is very shocked and does not believe himself. But suddenly his body swells up hard and he screams in a strange way. And we find that his face changes and waves of evil energy come out of him. And after that, he immediately falls to the ground and cannot get up. And he keeps feeling that his body will explode right now. So he tries to think of a solution and tells himself, if a balloon inflates hard with air like me, then I should allow this air to come out instead of it bursting. But the problem is that his situation is completely different right now, because what is inside our protagonist is extra power, not air. And if he lets this energy go on, it will take a very long time. So he immediately decides that the best thing is to release his energy. And here he uses the sound he has with him and keeps hitting with it and releases a large amount of energy with each attack. So in the end, a large red energy circle comes out of the building, and the people on the street stand completely shocked, and they wonder if this is an evil ritual again and if another disaster will happen or what. And during this time, our protagonist has become fine and he sleeps on the ground, but quickly he gets up and he notices that his strength has become much bigger than before. So the lady of the system speaks to him at that moment and tells him, your body is very weak right now, and it is better that he reduce the energy transfer to you. So Lo hears her words and tells her okay, and he remains silent for a while. So the lady continues and asks him about the skills he wants. So he responds and tells her, I want the time mark skill and Shadow Servant. So the lady agrees, and right away powerful energy comes out from him, and when it disappears, a shining circle appears on his hand. So he is happy and tells Kai, get ready because this spider will be your friend. But suddenly he hears a knocking sound, so he becomes confused and asks who is coming again now. And when he opens the door, he finds that it is Ning, and she asks him if he saw what happened in the building or not. So Lo asks her about what happened. So Ning looks at him and tells him, you look very sweaty and stressed. But Lo tells her, I was working, nothing more. So Ning yells at him and asks him to stay away right now so she can examine his room. But Lo tells her that it is a bedroom and there is nothing strange in it. So Ning does does not listen to him and enters, and is surprised that the room is empty like that, and tells him the reports indicate that energy came out of this building. But the strange thing is that there is nothing, so Ning begins to look more. So quickly Qi moves from behind her back so that she does not see him, and indeed Ning is convinced that there is nothing, and she apologizes to Lo and tells him that it seems the report that occurred was wrong. So Lo responds and tells her there is no problem, and it is my duty normally to cooperate with the police. And in the end, Lo greets her, and Ning says goodbye to him and tells him stay careful of yourself because the situation is not good. So Lo hears her words, and in the end, Ning walks away. And at that time, our protagonist is very happy and tells himself it is good that I got rid of this girl. But here Lo notices that Qi has disappeared. So he quickly goes out of his place and is shocked when he finds that Qi is walking behind Ning, and at that moment he becomes very angry and asks him to return to him right now. And after that, time passes with us, and Lo goes to a pet shop, and the one working there is focused on his phone and tells Lo if something impressed you. So our protagonist moves and is happy because he will take his break now, and the owner of the shop will not be paying attention at all to what he will do. So immediately he goes to a rabbit cage and begins to welcome him and tells him, I will choose you. So he extends his hand and uses the shadow servant skill on him, and at that moment dark energy comes out and enters the rabbit's body, and Lo is happy because his skill succeeded, and after that he wonders if he can use this skill on humans too, and tells himself this will be amazing because if it works on people, they will make me food, and they will do everything I ask from them. So he sees that he might choose criminals first and make them servants and try it on them. And he thinks to himself that I had decided to try this skill in the beginning only on animals, and now it succeeded, and he is supposed to go try it on humans now. But the only point that prevented him is that he needs a larger shadow to know how to try. And after that, Lo speaks to the shop owner and asks him about the price of this rabbit cage. So the man gets up from his place and counts the rabbits and tells him they are 1,200. So Lo responds and tells him that is a very high price. But the man tells him that this is the only price that is appropriate. So Lo tells him okay and asks him to add more animals as well. And at that moment, the man is very happy and tells him, you have turned out to be a special customer, and because of that, I will make a 10% discount for you. And after a while of time passes, we find that all the monsters come out of their cages dead. And Lo tells himself, I feel guilty about the death of these animals. But after that, Lo gets up and starts using the servant summon skill, and we find that shadows come out, and they begin to take strange shapes. And Lo tells these shadows to wait a bit because he wants to study. So he looks at the shadows' eyes carefully and finds their image in them, and he keeps feeling something very strange, and he finds that he is not fine because he sees letters around him as if he entered the illusion, and he begins to fall here, and he screams. But suddenly the lady of the system appears and holds his hand before he falls and speaks to him at that moment and tells him I have discovered an unnatural presence in the place, and because of that, I decided to intervene to protect you. And suddenly the shadows launch at Lo, and the lady creates a fire flame in her hand and attacks these shadows, so they all scream and begin to back away. And here Lo thanks the lady and tells her that she saved him this time too, and he continues speaking and tells her I only wanted to feel the connection between me and the servants, but I was surprised by this strange presence, which was pulling me to devour me completely. So the lady responds and tells him, I wish you would not be reckless next time, and do not try to get close to this strange power, so you do not get hurt. So Lo looks at her and asks her if there is an entity behind everything that is happening to him. So the lady is silent for a moment, and then tells him that the authority of your current level does not allow her to tell you this information at all. So Lo understands, and realizes that he seems not qualified right now to know the truth of the world he is in, and he wonders if he can deal with the servants now or what. So the lady tells him, yes, you can deal with them comfortably. So right away, he asks the servants about the power they have, and at that moment the servants disappear suddenly. So Lo is happy and tells himself that they are capable of hiding themselves well, and after that he orders the servants to attack right now. And at that moment the servants create 3 people from shadow and transform their hands into weapons and attack from behind Lo. So Lo moves his finger and launches a fire sound and hits these shadows with it, so some of them fall and some shadow absorbs the attack and fire, but this fire continues to burn in it. So Lo cancels the fire immediately because he is afraid that the servants might kill him, and after that he pulls the amount of shadow he got from the animals and tells himself that he cannot use this skill at all on humans. So he looks more at the shadows and is shocked that there is a shadow with a small size, but it is growing his brain, and he orders the servants that they move now only and look for anything strange in the area. So the shadows hear the words and descend to the ground like water. And here Lo tells himself that these shadows have become intelligent and no one will discover me now. And after that, our protagonist throws himself on the bed and sits thinking and tells himself I must be stronger to be able to protect myself because all my strength right now depends only on the monsters. And he keeps understanding that he needs to train well, and he wishes that he was a real awakened one because he would have knowledge or even be able to use the different heavy methods for the awakened. And after that, he remembers the team he fought and tells himself that they are considered weak, and because of that, their level is low. But the lady enters and tells our protagonist that you can search the internet and you will know more information about the awakened. But Lo responds to her and tells her the news on the net is not always correct, but the lady insists and asks him to just try. And before we know what happened, we move the scene to someone who is opening the internet, and he keeps searching in the questions about the awakened. So he finds that all the questions that are there are useless. So the boy responds to one of the questions, and the question turns out to be specific to our protagonist, Lo. So he speaks to him and tells him that he is awakened and will tell right now about killing the monsters. So he speaks to him and tells him only, I feel that you are not awakened because you did not let me into the form. So the boy speaks to him and tells him, I cannot let you into any forum unless you were awakened from the second level, and I must send all your information. So he does not want anyone to know his truth. So he thinks that he will steal an account and give him information from someone else. And with some time, we find that the boy is annoyed because Lo is not responding to him. But suddenly Lo responds and tells him, you are definitely a liar and lying to me. So the boy becomes enraged and hits the table hard and tells himself it is clear that Lo embarrassed me and I must take my revenge on him. So because of that, he sends Lo an invitation card and tells him only the awakened get this card, and he is with me right now. So Lo responds to him and provokes him and tells him only it is easy. Anyone can get a picture of the invitation, so the boy goes crazy from the fact that Lo does not believe he is awakened. So he goes and sends him the content of the real invitation and tells him, I will erase this content right away when you see it. Of course, Lo, like this, gets what he wants. So he says goodbye to the boy after gathering all the information and blocks him, of course, so the boy becomes very upset and keeps cursing him. And after that, our protagonist wears his mask and goes to the store that has this invitation. And he is shocked because he was thinking he would be special by wearing this. But everyone is already wearing masks and no one knows the other. And they wear strange clothes. And at that moment, the people are standing in a queue and they keep handing over their tickets so they can enter the store. And Lo looks around him and notices that even the ones at the door are awakened from the third level. So he decides to attract attention and begins to release his dark halo that is in him. So they are all shocked by this halo. And they tell themselves that we are going to die with this terrifying halo feeling. And when they notice that the halo is coming from next to Lo, they begin to focus with him. So Lo is confused because he did not expect that everyone would focus with him so quickly. And after that, he speaks to the guards and apologizes to them and tells them, I just lost the invitation. And the guard feels the strong halo, so he tells him right away there is no problem at all and allows him to enter. So Lo asks him if it is okay now to enter without this line. And the guard, because he knows that he is strong, tells him, yes, you can do anything. So Lo enters and is happy. And the guard tells him, by the way, our leader will be very happy when he sees you. So Lo takes something and walks in the luminous hallway until he reaches the store. And when he reaches it, he sees all the strange elements that are there and the people who are selling on the ground. So he speaks to himself and tells himself that this is really the night store that not just anyone enters. So he looks at the elements being sold and tells himself about them that they are very good elements. And suddenly he feels a strange movement. So he looks at the people around him and finds someone warning his friend from Lo because he is very strong and might hurt them. So Lo is shocked that everyone here knows him like that and tells himself that he wants to blend in more with the awakened. But after that, he sees a woman sitting down and in front of her are books about heavy spiritual techniques, and he feels that he might need these books, but he tells himself, I must also not show that I want the books. So he sits and thinks, and after that he takes a poison dose from the corpses, and at that moment the girl begins to tell him all the properties of this poison and its harm to anyone who is hit by it. And she explains to him too that even star monsters, if they drank from this poison, they would be very hurt. So he likes the poison, but tells the girl the only disadvantage of this poison is its obvious smell. And after that, he tells her, I like to take the books because I feel that they will be more useful to me. So the girl is surprised and is shocked that maybe someone with his power like that might need books. But she asks him, does he need the books for his students or what? And after that, right away, she asks him to make a spiritual movement so he can buy. So Lo is shocked that he does not know anything about this currency. And at that moment, the girl tells him that the books deserve one currency, but Lo keeps silent because he does not know the currency she is talking about. And at that moment, the people who are there pay attention, and they all tell him about that he is stingy and does not want to pay currency, and others tell him that he does not want to spend the currency on books because they will not help him. But suddenly, someone with a monkey mask begins to laugh and knows everyone that they were actually fooled very easily. And here the people become upset with him and tell him, you mean what? So the monkey mask person points to Lo and tells him the boy is a liar and pretending to be just like us awakened. So Lo becomes shocked and becomes silent. And the monkey mask person continues his speech and tells them now, I will reveal the truth to you. And he knows everyone that when he reveals the truth, the guards should punish him and cut off a limb from him or even kill him. So Lo responds to this person and asks him if he is threatening him or what I mean. So the monkey mask responds and tells him no. But now I will know everyone the truth truth about you, so Lo responds to him and tells him you look reckless, and right away he releases his energy and a very intense light comes out in the place. And after that, dark shadows come out from his limbs, and they grab the monkey mask and shake it off, so the monkey mask person sits and screams and is very afraid. And after that, he looks at our protagonist and remains seeing him as a monster exactly, and at that moment Lo releases him, so he falls to the ground, and all the ones who are there keep laughing at what happened, and they make fun of him. But the monkey mask person gets up and curses all the people, and yells at Lo, and extends his hand to him, and tells him, you must know that my older brother will not leave you, and will cut you into pieces. But actually at that moment we see that his hand is being cut, and it flies to the ground. So he is very shocked from that, and he is on his knee, and his hand keeps bleeding hard, and at that moment he is screaming because his hand is hurting hard. So Lo is standing next to a shadow with a weapon, and tells the monkey mask person, your speech is not acceptable to me, and because of that, I decided to punish you. So everyone at that moment gathers around Lo and tells him that he is very strong and brave, and suddenly someone removes all the people and asks them to widen the road right now. So the person comes forward with another one, and at that moment one of them tells him that this halo is the same halo that we met at the entrance. So the girl who has the books becomes afraid and tells Lo that the books are just copies and he can take them all for free if he wanted. So Lo keeps joking with her like that, and the girl becomes confused, and after that he gives her an element and asks her if this is appropriate for her or what. So the girl becomes very happy because the element becomes containers of spider poison and sells in front of her for 100,000 spiritual currency. So Lo is shocked that the element costs all this money, but he also asks the girl to take it normally. So the girl tells him, I cannot take something like that, and asks him to take another element and bring her 1 currency, and that is all. So Lo does not know how to do that because he does not have any currencies at all. So he tells the girl, keep the containers with you and I will take things from you later. So the girl becomes afraid and tells him, what exactly do you want? But Lo reassures her and tells her, do not be afraid. I do not want anything evil. So the girl feels a little relieved and introduces herself, and her name is Shu, and gives him a number for contact and a note, and at that moment Lo becomes confused from this note, but he takes it anyway. And at that same time, there is someone in the place, not wearing a mask, with the people in front, and asks everyone to also stay away. And at that moment, Shu becomes worried and tells him that the Tsu family has arrived, and Guoyu, who is the brother of the monkey mask person, has arrived too. So Lo responds and asks her if the Tsu family is strong or what. So Shu responds and tells him the family is very strong and big, and you cannot stand against them alone. And she even tells him that Guoyu and the family leader are considered from the star rank because they are in the 9th level, which makes Lo confused, that people are seeing the 9th level as strong, and right away he does not wait and creates fighters from the shadow. And we find that 2 of them hold Shu, so Shu screams and asks Lo not to participate in the fight at all and backs away. But Lo does not listen and wants to participate, and at that moment the monkey mask person speaks to his brother and asks him to take revenge on him from Lo right now because he cut off his hand. So Guoyu responds to him and tells him, do not speak because I know everything. And after that he hits him and tells him, how did you dare to touch someone from the Tsu family like that normally? And then, so Lo here shows his dark halo, which takes the shape of a terrifying monster. So Guoyu becomes terrified from that. And after that, he goes to his brother quickly and grabs his head with force and immediately turns it. So he falls dead on the ground and his mask even falls from him. And after that, Guoyu descends on his knee and tells Lo, I have just killed my brother now. I am begging you, forgive me for the sake of the Tsu family. So Lo becomes surprised by this behavior and tells himself the scenario that is happening right now is wrong because the one supposed to happen was a fight between me and him. But he becomes ready for the fight. So Guoyu becomes worried from that and feels that Lo still does not like what happened. So quickly, he offers him a bag and tells him the bag has 10,000 currency, and he assures him that his family right now does not want any problems with the heir of Shadow Cutter himself. So Lo becomes confused and becomes shocked that Guoyu thinks he is someone else, and confused between Shadow Servants and Shadow Cutter. And after that, Guoyu asks our protagonist if they can walk or what. So Lo tells him, okay, you can walk. So Guoyu becomes happy and walks right away with his followers. So one of them becomes confused and tells him, why did you kill your brother? So Guoyu responds and tells him we would have fallen into a big problem very much with the heir of Shadow Cutter, and our life would not have been peaceful. So the follower becomes confused and asks about Lo's power from Guoyu. So Guoyu responds and tells him Lo has a skill to extract the souls of corpses and transform them into shadow servants. And at that moment, the servants become indifferent power. So he continues his speech and tells him that the ones like Lo are members of the Crimson Hand, and they always have missions to kill owners of star ranks and the servants. Even tell him that there are 13 commanders called the Moons, and each one of them has one shadow. And after that, he leans on the wall and trembles and tells himself, I am now a witness to 11 legend, because only Lo has 3 complete shadows by himself. So he tells his followers too that the shape of his goal at the beginning was to destroy my family. Because of that, I killed my brother, so that I avoid the massacre that will happen in the family completely. We return once more to our protagonist, and he thinks that he does not need anything from the store right now, but he insists that he impresses Guoyu. And on the other hand, Shu becomes very amazed, because even the Tsu family itself was afraid from Lo, and that means he is in a terrible power. And after that, we find someone calling Lo. So Lo speaks to him and tells him, "What do you want?" The man responds and tells him the leader of the store just wants to meet you, so Lo agrees. And the man begins to direct him. And at that moment, Shu tells him, "I want to come with you." And at that moment, everyone in the store keeps talking about Lo and tell him that he is mysterious and very strong, to the point that even the leader of the store wants to meet him by himself. And after that, in a girl, she speaks and tells him, "I will name him the Yellow King because the color of his cloak is yellow." And the people tell him that this is truly a nice name. And we return once more to our protagonist, who has already reached the entrance of a palace. And at that moment, the guard tells him that the leader is inside and waiting for him. So he enters and finds someone looking at him in a very strange way, as if he is examining him. And Lo notices too that right now there is someone with a Morning Star rank examining him as well. So quickly, he uses his Time Shield skill, and a halo forms around him for protection. And also he releases a dark halo from him. And after that, the watch appears on Lo's hand and releases from it a bug. And the bug begins to look at everyone in her eyes, and it begins for the watch to grow again, and releases very powerful energy on the one who tried to examine him. So the man becomes shocked from what happened and grabs his head and feels that something is wrong right now. And here he loses the sense of time. And we also see that the dark halo hits him, so he understands that he cannot escape the attack that is coming at him. And after that, he keeps coughing blood. So his follower becomes worried about his master, so he becomes enraged and uses his power. And we see that the size of his body increases more, and he asks him, how did he dare to attack his master like that normally? And after that, he does not wait and launches to attack our protagonist. But in the middle of that, the master calls the follower and asks him to stop the attack right now. So the follower stops and listens to the order. And after that, we see that the master welcomes Lo properly and tells him that he will be his and be from his special forces. It is next part, lover. I no need views or watch time. I need subscribe. Please support me so I continues upload. And respectfully reports, explaining that moments earlier, he accidentally glimpsed Lu and hopes he won't take it to heart, offering to completely avoid the treasure building and share all information he possesses as compensation, when another man named Yang arrives to welcome the senior to the night market, mentioning that everyone knows thieves have come for this treasure, and if any updates come, he'll immediately notify Lu, causing Lu to simply nod while internally confused about which treasure they're discussing and why no one speaks in straightforward language, feeling as though everyone assumes he already knows everything and he arrived at perfect timing. Yang curiously observes Xiao King and asks who she is, prompting Lu to casually mention she came with him, which Yang accepts, though he begins wondering how this big shot from the night market brought along a girl he found here and even failed to hide the treasure matter from her, deciding she must possess some special ability and choosing to remain extra cautious, after which everyone sits at a table where Yang explains. This matter began a month ago when human eye thieves robbed a small caravan transporting 6,000 seconds, causing Xiao King to react immediately upon hearing the name. Yang asks whether she knows them, and Xiao King explains that human eye thieves are a brutally cruel gang composed mostly of non-awakened criminals led by an evil god cultist who transformed them into monsters through ritual, causing eyes to sprout all over their heads, with each eye possessing power equivalent to certain awakening secret techniques, extending their lifespans after transformation but burdening them with a debt. They can only survive by continuously consuming fresh human eyes of their own species, and if they fail to do so, their eyes and bodies slowly rot, with consuming more human eyes making them stronger, which is why they constantly raid towns and have become sworn enemies of humanity, causing Yang to slam the table in anger, declaring these human eye thieves deserve death, mentioning his many caravans have been attacked by them, noting that stealing goods is different from removing people's eyes, which ruins lives, with Li Chang agreeing they must be completely exterminated. Then Li Chang reveals the most crucial detail. The stolen goods included a dragon egg, shocking Lu internally as he wonders how insane this is, since even the weakest dragon produces at least 2-star grade materials, causing Xiao King to doubt whether any caravan could obtain a dragon egg by killing 2 adult dragons, having heard that dragons fiercely protect their offspring, and if anyone attempts stealing an egg, the entire group of adult dragons attacks. Though Li Chang clarifies it wasn't a pure dragon egg, but rather a hybrid between a male dragon and some other creature, leading Xiao King to conclude this is a half-blood dragon that pure-blood dragons discriminate against, warning Li Chang not to underestimate hybrids and explaining that its father was a radiant moon rank dragon. Li Chang continues that when he tested Lu earlier, he sensed a manifested phenomenon around, suggesting such treasure belongs only to Radiant Moon rank individuals, leaving Xiao King completely shocked as she realizes Radiant Moon rank surpasses Morning Star, immediately remembering those golden locusts from his test and thinking this is the big shot who bought his handwritten copy in exchange for twisted spider venom worth 10,000 spirit coins, feeling like this entire situation resembles novel-like chance encounters, perhaps representing his destiny with a benefactor who could take him to life's peak, though he feels something isn't quite right about all this. Li Chang continues explaining that when the caravan saw the dragon egg, they found it completely unguarded, so they took the risk transporting it but unfortunately encountered human eye thieves on the way, with only one survivor whose eyes were removed, faking death to survive so he could spread this information hoping someone powerful would eliminate those thieves. Yet the problem was human eye thieves had hidden for considerable time, and recently weren't even hunting human eyes because they only consume fresh ones, making Li Chang doubt how they were surviving, suspecting some insider was secretly supplying them, which is why he came to the night market asking Yang about missing person cases in nearby cities. Lu thinks that if he obtains this dragon egg, he'll at least get a Morningstar grade monster he can ride, asking about their total strength, and Li Chang reveals there are over 100 human eye thieves, with their leader having consumed thousands of eyes and reaching around Morningstar level and being extremely dangerous, though he notes Morningstar isn't much for Lu, as many Awakeners know about this treasure but most are merely observing and few take action, with someone at Lu's level appearing here being almost impossible, causing Lu to think internally about what level they think he is, wondering if they believe he's also Morningstar level. Realizing Li Chang's friendly behavior is based entirely on misunderstanding, and if he discovers Lu's real strength, he might attempt killing him. Li Chang becomes somewhat emotional, saying his spiritual energy is badly damaged, and he wanted to exchange the dragon egg for some treasure that could break his bottleneck, mentioning he's 200 years old and probably near the end, causing Gosbuyer to offer hope that he'll achieve breakthrough and continue searching for treasures, though Li Chang responds with bitter smile that low-level longevity treasures are useless to him, and high-level treasures are guarded by monsters, making them almost impossible, admitting his confidence is broken, prompting Lu to ask what he just said, with Li Chang delivering a deep line about how something is born from nothingness and from difficulty comes a sage, which Lu delivers like a gift, shocking Li Chang as if he genuinely received something, causing him to repeat the line with more serious expression. Suddenly, Li Chang begins screaming, completely losing control, crying and shouting like his mind has snapped, with Gosbuyer attempting to calm him before turning angrily toward Lu, demanding what he did to his master, causing Lu to laugh lightly externally while panicking internally, thinking he only spoke a normal, comforting line, finding it odd that despite such advanced technology in first-year cities, this man didn't pursue mechanical or quantum emotions, but simply searched for longevity treasures. When suddenly, Li Chang becomes completely calm, his body emitting a wave of positive energy, closing his eyes and saying nothingness to existence, difficulty to ease, perpetually cycling through yin and yang, now understanding everything as his energy expands throughout the area. Xiao Qing excitedly shouts that this is enlightenment, something she read about in books, with Li Chang shattering his face as Lu watches the scene thinking, if he's enlightened then good. But exactly what did he understand? Feeling some irritation that he read the entire Dao De Jing without becoming immortal. Yet this guy broke through from one line, with energy waves spreading beyond the market as street people stop, taking photos and videos, someone claiming treasure is appearing, another thinking they'll send the clip to someone who blocked them, while Gosbuyer becomes emotional, falling at Lu's feet begging forgiveness for misunderstanding him, with Lu simply raising his hand saying enough. Li Chang sincerely thanks him, saying Lu's depth has no limits and he understood Lu's yin-yang ritual in a moment, admitting without him, he'd never reach mid-morning star rank, causing Lu to think internally, what are ritual essence and why does everything in this world have strange jargon attached? Though he simply mentions he only gave a simple suggestion, causing Li Chang to become emotional again, saying if such suggestions continue, he's willing to stay with him lifelong, making Lu think internally, no brother, I'm not spending lifetime with a 200-year-old uncle. Then everyone notices dawn approaching, prompting Lu to say it's time to leave, with Li Chang offering to escort him further but Lu declining, and Li Chang understanding before stepping aside, with Lu mentioning there's a junior he needs to take care of and asking Li Chang for his card, which Li Chang agrees to, promising to do his best caring for the junior, while Yang adds he's ready to offer his modest strength anytime Lu needs it, and Xiao King King reminds him he still owes her 9,999 spirit coins and says she'll come immediately when called, causing Lu to think internally her house calls are getting excessive. Lu prepares to leave, and the three bid him goodbye, returning home where he removes his mask, changes clothes, and sits comfortably on the sofa, thinking he perfectly executed another disguise and feeling that if he doesn't become a film king in acting, he'll waste his talent, realizing that creating a powerful persona from behind a mask is for intimidating people. Deciding at that moment he should enter the Awakener world as a junior to prevent anyone doubting his identity, reminding himself to simply wait for the right moment and thinking the game is starting, summoning his 3 shadow servants and ordering them to immediately patrol the entire city, explaining that since eye thieves need fresh eyes, they can't transport them far. So if any human trafficking or eye thief clues surface, they should report immediately. The 3 servants transform into liquid form and disappear, prompting Lu to pick up a book and begin reading about how the Awakener system works, becoming increasingly curious as he reads, eventually settling on the sofa with a book explaining that spirituality is the combined power of soul, body, and mind, representing an Awakener's true strength source, with spirituality existing in everything from tiny grass blades but in different amounts, where someone only becomes an Awakener after spirituality crosses a certain level, which is why schools have special equipment measuring spirituality to immediately identify new Awakeners, allowing Lu to realize that if he simply waits patiently at school, he'll naturally be recognized as an Awakener. Understanding further that a human ancestor invented the spiritual awakening method, creating rituals boosting spirituality and elevating awareness to higher ranks, Lu learns this development gave humans many powerhouses, making them hunters instead of prey, with every secret art having a ritual core determining whether a cultivation method can be practiced, and every ritual centers on visualization, where more powerful and complex images produce stronger training effects, allowing Awakeners to refine their spirituality through visualization into a single point of light achieving Morning Star level, then expanding that point and breaking the gate between illusion and reality to become Radiant Moon, eventually condensing a phantom for personal use before advancing further. Later discovering that beginners are warned against extremely high visualizations, with sun or moon visualization being too harsh for newly awakened souls, potentially causing serious damage or even death, making any magical beast or evil god focus equally dangerous. Finally clarifying why such beings can't be directly observed, and why the matter is so serious, Lu throws the book on the ground frustrated and wonders where he'll find ritual and visualization diagrams, noticing the original version creates such a massive gap between visualization techniques like comparing first-generation phones to sixth-generation ones. Discovering the next visualization diagram is quite basic, initially thinking it would be harder, but finding it simple, noting the gap between techniques resembles differences between old devices and third-generation smartphones. Still understanding that even the most basic spiritual awakening method has advantages with strong compatibility for first rituals, allowing easy switching to better secret rituals later. Though the book warns this method blocks higher paths for unknown reasons, only permitting progression to Morning Star, with content being heavily fragmented, as if some organization intentionally hid higher levels, creating mystery that increases his curiosity about whether to practice this method, deciding to use it temporarily as quality matters more than quantity, though the method accepts any visualization causing uncertainty about targeting. Noting that little creatures and little ants at Morning Star could become comfortable familiars, he created potentially usable safely, but with limited potential, momentarily considering Supreme Law-wielding evil god as focus, before dismissing it immediately to avoid mental invasion. Realizing ritual anchoring needs concrete examples or images, where Buddhist Lord's image suddenly gives his soul an aura sensation but fading quickly. Understanding that only mentally constructed visuals won't work for rituals needing real powerful targets. Resetting his thoughts and realizing without real powerful target examples, he'll become trapped in endless visualization loops. Understanding that fear balloon patterns only work because he created them. Concluding he needs a visualization target that's strong, continuously growable, and guaranteed safe, prompting him to decide the most suitable target is himself.
Cheng sits down to focus on his cultivation, but his visualization is moving way too slow. He realizes he needs to be more precise to avoid wasting energy, so he pulls out a bag of spirit coins. In this world, spirit coins are basically condensed spirituality extracted from minerals. They're used to refill an awakener's energy or give it a slight boost. Instead of saving them, he decides to burn through the entire stash to fuel his breakthrough. Hours pass as the golden energy around him gets more intense. Finally, he finishes the process and feels a massive surge of power. So we move to Boston for this. He thinks he isn't just making a simple projection. He's aiming for something much bigger. A massive shadowy figure begins to loom behind him. This is his Demon King form. He successfully manifests the Chaos Hands, a visualization diagram that covers a huge area. While observing the process, he notices strange white lights which he identifies as Little 7 and the unborn Little 8. He realizes that he isn't just visualizing a single entity, he's visualizing an entire world. The Chaos Hands are just a small part of the complete form. Once he unlocks more regions, he'll be able to manifest the demon god's head and the rest of its body. This moment of enlightenment allows him to clearly see the power structure of this world. He maps out the tiers of an awakener, mentally climbing the ranks from tier 1 all the way up to tier 9. As he reaches the peak of tier 9, he hits an invisible barrier. It's not a permanent shackle, but a self-formed protection. He realizes his current foundation is too unstable to push any further. If he tries to break through now, it could cause a disaster, so he decides to play it safe and stop for the moment. Just as he settles down, his shadow servants manifest in the room. They've been out scouting and have finally found something for him. In a quiet neighborhood at night, several dark shadows are busy smashing every security camera they can find. The main character walks behind them, casually noting how dedicated the city's maintenance crews are for replacing these things every day. If he had to fix them himself, he'd be too lazy to bother. He's here for a specific reason, tracking down a group of human traffickers. He asks one of his shadows where they're hiding, and they point him toward a nearby house. He knows there are children inside. He explains that children make the best sacrifices because they don't really understand good or evil yet. Their emotions are pure, so when they're betrayed and mutilated, the resulting resentment and malice are incredibly potent. It turns out these traffickers are actually gouging out the kid's eyes. Seeing this makes him just lose his temper, yeah. He decides that instead of just killing them, he's going to extract their shadows as punishment. He wonders, though, why they need children's eyes specifically instead of just using homeless people, suspecting there's a darker purpose behind it. Inside the house, an old man is working on a container when a larger guy walks in to check on the progress. The boss complains about how long it's taking and mentions the other guys are waiting. When he walks outside, he's met with a grisly sight. His partner is already dead on the ground, and the protagonist is standing there with his shadows. Before the guy can even process what's happening, a green flash cuts through the air. His head is sent flying, leaving his body behind in a spray of blood. One of the larger shadows looms over the corpse. The protagonist looks at the house and tells his crew it's time to go kill some more people. In a dark warehouse, a group of kids are forced to kneel in a circle around a glowing, cross-shaped statue. Two criminals, Luo Hu and a muscular guy with an eye patch named Old Ju, are watching over them. They are discussing a deal to deliver these children for a water ghost ritual. Old Ju is particularly excited because he hopes to trade the goods for some holy water so he can finally become an awakener. Their conversation is interrupted when a young man with black hair suddenly appears in the shadows. The stranger asks them about a group of human eye thieves and wants to know where their organization is hidden. Luo Hu doesn't take him seriously and pulls a gun, but the protagonist is much faster. He disarms Luo Hu and knocks him to the ground using a shadowy power. Old Ju tries to warn the stranger that these kids are wanted by a powerful organization and that he should just take one and leave. The protagonist clarifies that he isn't there to save just one kid. He's taking all of them. Realizing they are in trouble, Luo Hu undergoes a mutation triggered by a ghost-type ritual. His body swells with purple veins and he transforms into a mindless monster. The protagonist notes that this is an evil path ritual that destroys the user's intelligence. Luo Hu attacks by throwing purple liquid orbs, attempting to drown the protagonist in midair, but the attack fails to land. The protagonist counters by activating an ability called Hellfire, covering his arms in flames and punching through the monster's defense. Luo Hu is confused as to why his poison mist isn't working, but the protagonist points out that Luo Hu should be more worried about his own body. He has been set on fire and didn't even realize it until the pain kicked in. As Luo Hu burns and begs for mercy, the protagonist stands over him and asks about the eye thieves again. Luo Hu swears he doesn't know anything and eventually stops moving. The protagonist stares at the body, unsure if the guy was truly ignorant or just refused to talk even while dying. He then looks over at the other criminal on the floor and tells him to stop playing dead. The man on the ground is terrified. She wears as an improvement that is planned for us. He seems to be an easy person and the fight that is faithful and red and raw. The man on the ground is terrified. To save his life, he spills everything he knows. He tells the protagonist that his group isn't part of the human eye thieves, but the Primordial Dark Cult. Most cults are just chaotic and bloodthirsty, but this one is an anomaly. They follow a path of eternal silence and seek forbidden knowledge from a god that takes the form of a silver key. Their ultimate goal is to plunge the world back into primordial darkness. The informant claims they are rational madmen, making them even more dangerous. He points out that members always wear black robes and have a specific red scar on their right hands. Once he's provided all the information he has, the protagonist decides he's no longer useful. With a swift strike, he ends the man's life. Just as he's about to leave, the protagonist senses someone approaching. The footsteps are light, like a cat's. Before he can react, a hand covers his mouth. A mysterious woman with purple hair appears, acting surprisingly cheerful. She asks if he wants a key and tosses him a pendant. As soon as he catches it, a shadow servant manifests behind them, a guard made of pure shadow energy. He's suspicious. He asks if she's a member of the Primordial Dark Cult. She laughs it off, explaining that she just stole her outfit from various evil groups because she liked how it looked. She's got pieces from the Primordial Dark Cult, the Primordial Moon Cult, and the White Rose Cult. She treats raiding evil organizations like shopping at a boutique. The protagonist can't decide if she's a complete idiot or a high-level maniac, but he knows he can't let his guard down. She claims she has a cleanliness obsession and no interest in men, yet she suddenly lunges at him. Her goal is simple. She wants to see the face hidden behind his mask. The man in the mask tries to get a look at the girl's face, but she brushes him off, calling his look a passerby face. He doesn't stick around to argue. He points behind her to distract her and vanishes into thin air before she realizes she's been tricked. She's left alone in the warehouse, annoyed that he ran off so fast. Just as she's about to leave, the special department bursts in. They're on a case and demand cooperation. Among the agents is a blonde girl complaining to her cousin about her denied leave slip. They spot the purple-haired woman and immediately order her to surrender, launching shadow-based attacks at her. She isn't bothered at all. She uses spatial magic, creating portals with her fingertips to redirect their energy. The agents are stunned to see such a high-level visualization ability. The woman starts acting like a victim, claiming she's just a heartbroken girl, dumped by a man who didn't find her good enough. She mentions the Yellow-Robed King, which stops the agents in their tracks. That name carries a lot of weight. She tells them she wants to quietly protect this man and warns them that if they see a tall guy in a hooded cloak and a shadow mask, they should let her know. With a final wave, she steps through a portal and disappears. The agents are left to piece things together. They've heard rumors of the Yellow-Robed King buying beginner manuals at the night market. They start theorizing that he might be a Radiant Moon-level elder, or perhaps a young disciple. They also note that the Cutting Shadow lineage has been gathering its young elites lately, signaling a potential hidden feud between powerful clans. The agents worry that knowing this much might actually get them killed. Later, the masked man is walking through the city streets when the woman finds him. He teases her for being slow. To her surprise, he pulls out a blowing pendant and hands it to her. He admits he stole it, but says it's the first gift he's ever given. She takes it, complaining that he has zero sense of romance for a man, even as they continue on their way. If your idea of romance is sneaking a tracking spell onto someone, that's a pretty unique sense of charm. The girl admits she didn't think he'd notice, but she's impressed. The man remains suspicious, realizing she's probing for his goals. A system message pops up showing his love experience is a flat 0, so he reminds himself to stay calm. He figures acting indifferent is the best way to handle girls. She asks if he's hunting the human eye thieves and offers her help, even suggesting they go back to her place to talk. He isn't interested in games. He flares up his golden energy, giving her a simple choice: talk now, leave, or die. Instead of being intimidated, she finds his domineering attitude attractive. He just scoffs, noting that her setup was way too obvious to work. She finally gets down to business and explains the situation. A radiant moon dragon once broke into forbidden grounds and stole a mysterious finger. After performing a ritual that cost its life, it laid a sub-dragon egg. A hidden cult member smuggled the egg away, triggering a massive free-for-all between factions like the Primordial Moon Cult and the Thorn Wreath faction. While everyone was busy killing each other, the leader of the human eye thieves swooped in and snatched the egg for himself. The leader is currently hiding near the Misty Forest. It's a perfect spot for the thieves because their superior mental power allows them to see right through the fog, making it an ideal hunting ground. This is the solid lead he was looking for. When he asks what her ultimate goal is, she just tells him to look up before officially introducing herself as Shen Wuyou. Yulu meets with a mysterious purple-haired girl in the city at night. He's using a fake name, Yulu, see, because he knows that reversing his name can protect him from certain curse abilities other awakeners might use. The girl, she asks him for a favor. In Yulu, he just assumes she wants help with those human eye thieves, or maybe some sub-dragon egg that supposedly hates him. He's not really looking for trouble. But then the girl, she spills her true goal. She wants to buy one of his Shadow Sentinels. Now, in this world, Shadow Sentinels, they belong to the Cutting Shadow lineage, and they're incredibly rare and expensive to create. Most folks, they'd never sell one, not even to their own family. Since Yulu has 3, well, she figures he's incredibly wealthy. And while he acts all hesitant, Yulu, he secretly knows that creating these servants costs him almost nothing, and they just get stronger as he levels up. His only real concern is whether selling one would damage his soul. Ultimately, he refuses to sell, so the girl, she suggests they cooperate instead. She tells him about this perilous zone where the human eye thieves, they originated. It's a place where you can supposedly get the blessing of eternal life, though Yulu, he recognizes that as a curse. The location? The Sun Guard's Temple, a place that allegedly holds missing pieces of human history and ancient treasures. Yulu, he's intrigued by the idea of uncovering the history that's being kept from humanity. So, they agree to work together and exchange contact info on fearsome, a standard social media app. The girl finds it strange that someone involved in the mystical world uses such an ordinary app, but Yulu prefers the simplicity and the emoji. As they part ways, the girl notes that his name is obviously fake and prepares to see whose scheme is more clever. Meanwhile, at a grand cathedral, a bishop is furious. A mission involving 40 children was a complete disaster, and not a single one returned. The survivors report that their plans were suddenly ruined by the interference of a force known as the Yellow-Robed King. Disgusted by their failure, the bishop brutally executes his own men, turning them into orbs of blood. He stands alone in the hall, wondering exactly what kind of entity this yellow-robed king is. Gu Chang'e, he's in the middle of a fight, see, against this red-haired woman who's gone and turned herself into a giant blue snake. To deal with her, he releases this golden insect, a time locust. The woman, she's shocked, absolutely shocked, that her spiritual power, which cost millions of spirit coins, is being held back by a simple bug. She tries to find a weakness, confident she can see right through Gu Chang'e's moves. As the battle intensifies, the woman's consciousness, it's suddenly pulled into this bizarre spiritual world. She's confused, because this place is nothing like a normal dreamland. It's a silent, empty void, feels like the beginning and end of everything. She starts to wonder if this is actually the divine realm her cult worship, and begins searching for her god. Instead of finding her lord, she's met with a massive, terrifying entity, a giant eye and a dark, shadowy hand. They appear in the void. This is a forbidden existence, one that mortals shouldn't even look at. The sheer presence of this being is too much for her to handle, and her spiritual form, it's crushed instantly. Back in the real world, the red-haired woman collapses on the floor, coughing up blood. She's terrified, realizing that Gu Chang'e is far more dangerous than she ever imagined. Meanwhile, Gu Chang'e, he's perfectly fine. He admits it was a close call, and thanks the system for waking him up in time to activate the monster editing mode. He stands over his defeated opponent, looking down at her, while the time locust rests on his finger. Lord Li and his assistant, they watch a massive battle from a distance. It's a high-level clash, you see, between Radiant Moon entities, a bishop from the Primordial Dark Cult, and the Yellow-Robed King. The bishop, he's losing badly, despite mastering all those advanced techniques. And a girl watching through binoculars, she notes that those who belong to the old era, well, they simply can't stand against this power. Suddenly, a massive, terrifying eye appears. Everyone realizes they are looking at a forbidden existence, essentially a god walking among us mortals. Lord Li, he's stunned that such a powerful being seems to be acting as a guardian for humanity. He realizes the city has a high chance of survival now, and immediately orders his team to find the successor of the Yellow-Robed King. Meanwhile, the defeated bishop, he's in agony, covered in a purple curse that manifests as dozens of grasping hands. He barely manages to retreat to a hidden chamber, and uses a powerful sword relic to suppress the corruption. He's stable for now, but he'll be out of action for a long, long time. Back in a quiet apartment, the person actually responsible for all this chaos, he's just relaxing and eating pizza. His system explains that his shadow servants evolved by devouring a massive amount of divination power. He looks over a time locust sitting on his hand, noting that while the system said its growth period would be a year, it's already quite active. He turns his attention to his other pet, a yellow balloon-like creature called a void shadow spider. He tests its speed by flicking an object at it, and the spider teleports instantly to dodge. He teases the creature, telling it that if it were a real assassin, it would be dead. The time locust suddenly lunges at the spider, but he pulls them apart, reminding them that locusts and spiders are natural enemies. Just as things calm down, the void shadow spider begins glowing and absorbing energy orbs, leaving him completely surprised by its sudden development. Back in his room, the protagonist watches as a large, pulsing green egg begins to crack. A golden insect hovers nearby as the shell shatters, revealing a tiny creature with the upper body of a girl and the lower body of a spider. Instead of being fearsome, the little spider girl is whimpering and crying. The guy is surprised, wondering what kind of spider makes sounds like that. He picks her up and notices she is clutching a small pocket watch. As he helps clean the slime off her, the evil floating balloon starts lecturing him. It turns out this was originally a void shadow spider egg, but the protagonist used it as a dumping ground for cursed impurities and time fragments. The balloon thinks he was being incredibly reckless. To test her out, the spider girl activates her pocket watch. Immediately, the protagonist feels his movement slowing down. He realizes that by combining those discarded time fragments with the egg, he's created a creature that can effectively stall enemies. Seeing the spider girl and the golden insect playing together, the protagonist is satisfied with the results. He decides to name the new addition Little 8. By now, he is completely drained from the night's events and collapses onto his bed. Even though he's exhausted, he starts planning his next move. He already has 7 shadow servants harvested from enemies he killed, but Little 8 doesn't have any of her own yet. He needs to find a place to get some for her tomorrow, but he has to be careful. If he goes to a normal market, people will think he's performing an evil ritual. As he finally falls asleep, Little 8 stays by his side, holding her clock and watching over him.